Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is a brand new What If. What if Tanjiro had demonic breathing? And as always, if you guys enjoy, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into it. So let's get it. This story begins with Tanjiro Kamado finding his entire family slain. And the thing is, this would be the moment, truly, that everything changes. Because he would get this overwhelming sense of power, anger, and a feeling he's never felt before. This anger, this feeling, this emotion, and this true kind of power seems to kind of be arising within Tanjiro Kamado. He picks up his sister and he runs off with her, and he can feel this odd connection happening with him and his sister. And the connection itself is what seems to be some sort of demon or demonic like connection that is connecting their life forces. Eventually she would wake up and she would immediately just attack Tanjiro, attacking him briefly as Giyu Tomioka would arrive, but just seconds after the attack, Tanjiro would tell her to stop, and she would stop. She would stand there in complete, complete stature and not moving an inch, and Giyu would be in shock. I mean, he'd be like, what just happened? In which Tanjiro would pat her on the shoulder and then pat her on the head. She would calm down and even act very similar to his regular sister. It seems like he was able to absorb that kind of demon tendency away from her and make her extremely calm and relaxed. He looks towards Giyu and tells him that this is his sister. His sister, yeah, she might have been changed into whatever is going on, but she's good. And he promises that she is good. In which Giyu is like understandably confused. Like, he doesn't know what to think. He doesn't know what to do. But eventually he allows them to leave and they head off to Urokodaki. And obviously they face off with a temple demon in which both of them handle really easily. Tanjiro actually kind of shows that he has some pretty crazy strength and ability as just a normal person, at least right now. And the thing is, Urokodaki is watching closely, wondering exactly how and where this power of Tanjiro is even coming from. Like, he's genuinely confused. He's like, I don't get it. I don't understand, like, how you have such, like, a sense of power already, and you haven't been trained, you haven't been, there's no power fleshed out within you. We haven't done anything, right? And at the end of the day, it seems out of the ordinary that someone like Tanjiro would have gotten this powerful so quickly. And this would lead to him training Tanjiro, obviously, and Nezuko being put in a slumber. And during this training, Tanjiro starts really showing off some insane levels of learning, but also power. I mean, this emotion that he feels, this anger, this fear for the life of his sister, and the grief that is pumping through him from, the loss of his family, makes it so his training is so much better, so much more fruitful, a lot quicker, and he is way more powerful. And Urokodaki starts realizing that the anger, the grief, and everything that Tanjiro is feeling as of right now is the true reason why he's so powerful. It seems that these emotions are deriving from his sister being, well, literally a demon, and he has taken on that responsibility as well. Tanjiro, in a sense, is a demon. And it's weird because he's basically enhancing himself via the demon's kind of power, or demonic-like power, and he's utilizing it in a human state. And he believes, Urokodaki believes, that his emotions, his grief, his anger, his fear, those are just small aspects of what he can truly do. He believes that he's seen that him and his sister have a life force connection. Something about him being able to sap the demon essentially out of her. Not curing her of being a demon, but the anger, the grief, and all the emotion side of being a demon with the bloodlust, right, that she has been basically taken out of Nezuko, at least entirely. And Urokodaki sees this and thinks that this not only will help Nezuko not be, attacking other people and not attack humans, but on top of that, gives Tanjiro even more bloodlust and want and desire to actually end a demon as quick as possible. And his emotions, they feel that effect. Because before you know it, after training with Urokodaki and the spirits of Sabito and Makomo, Tanjiro slices through that boulder very, very easily, and the final selection would begin. And Tanjiro's bloodlust for every demon, his ability to smell out where the demons are, he goes running for them. It's as if he is on a hunt, a legitimate hunt for, like, literally finding these demons, a legitimate hunt to get exactly what he wants, the end of any demon in his sight. And every single demon within that final selection not only is slain by Tanjiro, but Tanjiro saps the life force out of them entirely with every single swing and with every single elimination that he gets. And yeah, it affects his emotions, but it does not affect his drive to save his sister. It does not affect his basically want and his protective instincts of trying to help and save his sister. So he's doing everything in his possible kind of ability, his possible power, and all the above to do exactly what he knows is best. And that is essentially protecting his sister with, like, by all means necessary. He does not care. He's going to protect her by all means, and he's going to make sure that she is safe. And that's exactly what Tanjiro Kamado is going to do. After defeating every demon within the forest or within the final selection and sapping all of their life energy, essentially leaving them nothing left, especially after, straight up ending them, obviously, right? There's nothing left after you end them. He goes back, he gets his Nichiren ore, and heads back to Urokodaki. But even Urokodaki can tell that this kid is different. There's something else about him, something different about him that honestly is going to continuously get, he doesn't want to call it worse, but it's going to continuously get more and more. The feeling, the emotion, and his kind of normal cheery side of him doesn't exist nowhere near as much as it used to. And frankly, all he's thinking about is saving his sister and ending every demon in sight. It's as if he is the personal demonic hunter that's basically maybe this world truly needs. And Tanjiro would embark on his first mission, and that's with the swamp demon. And hunting down the swamp demon is 10 times easier than normal. Finding him and eventually slaying him very easily, and even saving a young woman that was taken by him. But frankly, the swamp demon is not a challenge for Tanjiro and doesn't even need the help of Nezuko to actually defeat him. And he even saps more of that life force from that demon, even kind of being able to somewhat utilize, right, the blood demon art, or the demon art that that demon specifically was utilizing to essentially make portals and teleport. So he starts utilizing that for his own. He starts utilizing that to actually, travel distances a lot quicker, at least utilizing it when people aren't going to be, massively suspicious. So he heads off to the city that never sleeps. And of course he would run into Muzan as well. But Muzan himself, he would get a feeling from Tanjiro that he doesn't understand. He doesn't see Yorichi the way that he normally would, but he would see something different. He would see a version of Yorichi that was a demon, in which this would confuse Muzan. He doesn't know what he's looking at or what's even going on, but what he does know is that this kid might be potentially, or has the potential to be, the strongest demon ever. And there's something about him that is making Muzan really feel this way. But as Tanjiro stands in front of him, Tanjiro is slowly sapping life force away from Muzan, but he has plenty to spare, to the point where he doesn't even realize what's happening. But he also doesn't realize that Tanjiro is affecting the mind of Muzan by just standing in his vicinity. Muzan does turn a man into a demon to get away, but he doesn't send any demons after Tanjiro, not really even thinking about it, not even really understanding why he's kind of being so hesitant or why he has so many ideas that are not being put into fruition. But at the same time, he believes that, you know what, let's just leave, let's leave it as it is, and let's just keep it, you know, the way it is. And that's exactly what they're going to do, right? That's exactly what's going to happen. Is Muzan's going to walk away, and Tanjiro's not going to see him for a very long time. And of course, he does meet up with Lady Tameo and Yusuro, but Tanjiro would basically keep his distance and say that if they are friendly demons, like how he can sense that they are friendly demons to an extent, he tells them to not get close, or at least not too close, because he doesn't know what the effect of his life drain against them would really be, in which they're confused because Tanjiro just puts it out there that he obviously has some sort of effect on demons when they are too close, in which Lady Tameo would reach out her hand and get slightly closer to Tanjiro and feel that like effect, feel that life force like drain, and she would pull it back, realizing that he was telling the truth, but also realizing that certain demons will have different effects based on that specifically. I mean, his sister, he's saying it outright that his sister became way more calm, his sister became way nicer, and was no longer like trying to attack, and really recognized him as her brother. So that might have an effect on other demons in various different ways. But Tanjiro, he shakes his head and says that it doesn't work quick enough without a, you know, established connection already, or at least that's what it seems to be. So he doesn't want to, like, you know, try to save a demon when frankly the best way to, you know, the best course of action is to get rid of them. In which Lady Tameo was like, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that, right? I honestly do agree with that. In which obviously Tanjiro and them have a conversation about, you know, about Nezuko and about the getting the blood of the 12 Kizuki and stuff like that. This would obviously lead them to not actually seeing Susumaru and Yahaba, because they wouldn't actually come forth and wouldn't show themselves. But he would leave, he would meet Zenitsu for the first time and head off to a nearby mansion where the two of them would get stuck inside that mansion trying to find the brother of these two little kids. And in terms of the demons in here, Tanjiro would make quick work of someone like Kyogai, where he's essentially just way too fast for Kyogai. And Kyogai does land a pretty nasty blow to him as it cuts him just slightly, but Tanjiro can feel something, a combination of his breathing and also whatever demonic like breathing he has, or whatever demonic powers he has. It begins to heal him rapidly, and Kyogai's in shock, thinking that this kid is a demon. Why are you fighting me if you're a demon? If you're like me, why are you attacking me if you and I are the same? But Tanjiro tells him, we are not the same. Me and you are the furthest thing from the same people. At the end of the day, you are hunting down humans, eating them, destroying, yada, yada, yada. But me, no. I am different. I am so much different than that specifically. And basically, I'm here to protect the humans, unlike you. In which he would then slay Kyogai, and Kyogai would be in shock, not only feeling that he was outclassed, outsped, and everything, but on top of that, he has this feeling that the entire time he was just getting drained of his life. Like his life itself was just crumbling, slowly but surely. It felt like he couldn't even lift his feet properly because everything was getting kind of pulled into different directions. And at the end of the day, it seems like Tanjiro had an effect on him that he will never understand, and still will never understand, because the fight itself is over and done with, and Kyogai was put down. But just as this is happening, we have obviously Inosuke showing up for the first time, and obviously Inosuke later on would meet up outside where he would attack, attack Tanjiro's box and and that whole thing would ensue where Zenitsu, is trying to protect Nezuko, and we have all that stuff still unfold, and Tanjiro would break out in a bit of a fight in which he is quite a bit stronger than Inosuke, so this fight is not a difficult one, and eventually he would, stand down, and they would basically group up together as a three group, or as a trio, and they would head off to investigate Mount Natagumo not too long after, or like a day after. After investigating, or during the investigation, they definitely end up stumbling into these Demon Slayer puppets. These puppets are legitimately Demon Slayers that are strung up by these strings, and Tanjiro and them try their best to essentially save them, but Tanjiro can't really do it. Like, he can't save them the way he wants to. They eventually fight the Mother Spider Demon's doll, and eventually the Mother Spider Demon, which isn't much of a fight, but she even is terrified of Tanjiro. When Tanjiro closes the distance towards her, yeah, he would utilize water breathing and utilize that calm breathing type style where it wouldn't hurt as much, but she still would be in complete and utter fear. I mean, the aura that Tanjiro is giving off, the demonic aura, is showing that he is like them, but he is so much more terrifying. It's the way demons, or the way humans feel when they spot a demon and the demon comes hunting for them, because this really is the kind of stamp on the idea that Tanjiro is essentially the demonic hunter. And he slays basically the Mother Spider Demon, gaining even more power and even more strength. And when they face off with the Father Spider Demon, it's the same thing. And he slays the Father Spider Demon with Inosuke, where the two of them would then face off with Rui not too long after. But during this fight, Inosuke is falling behind, and Tanjiro tells him to go away, that the fight is fine without him and that he can handle it. Obviously, Inosuke is not too happy about this, but Tanjiro gives him a look, and this look is pretty damn terrifying. And he would back off, at least for like a couple minutes, at least, for the moment. And Tanjiro would tell Rui that there's something that he needs to understand, right? Something that he won't and wouldn't understand in its entirety. The main thing is to understand is that he is different. That Tanjiro, that himself, he is different than any other demon. He's different than anybody else, and they need to understand that. He needs to understand that, because at the end of the day, he could really, really, really be hurt here. And he tells him that maybe before this, the fight would have been closer. Before his family, tried to do his dirty work, maybe if Rui just fought him with all the power of his family combined, they might have stood a chance. But no, he does not stand a chance anymore, because he tells Rui, every single time a demon's body burns into ashes after the Nichiren blade strikes through their neck, he only gets more powerful. His emotions, they become darker, they become more sinister, and he can feel it. But his humanity still sticks, and his humanity side feels the power of a demon, and he rolls with it and pushes through it the entire time. And before you know it, with the usage of legitimately the Hinokami Kagura, he slices through the neck of Rui just as casual as someone like Gyu and the water-breathing Hashira, and he ends the fight in one foul swoop. And of course, Rui's in shock. His head clatters off the ground, and his life force is sapped entirely by Tanjiro, and all that power would come to a head with Tanjiro, and he would have so much more strength and also so much more ability as he essentially gets more power from Rui himself and more power from the demons themselves. But eventually he would be taken back, would be taken away with Nezuko, and after a little bit of a fight with Shinobu and Kanao, and they would decide what to do with him. Now eventually they do allow him to still be a demon slayer, but he stands up after everything is said and done, And he tells them that he has something that many of them probably never expected. But that is an ability to turn a demon back into a human. In which they're like, no, he's bluffing. Like, you're full of it. How would you even be able to do that? And he goes over to his sister, and he immediately would begin channeling life force power. And as he does, he strips the demon hood away from her, and she is back to being a human. A full-on cured human. In which all of them are shocked. How? This makes no sense. In which Tanjiro looks at them and says that every single kill, every single demon that falls, he gets more powerful. And before you know it, he'll be able to do the same thing to Muzan Kibutsuji. And everybody is in shock. Some of them don't believe him. It doesn't make sense. But others, they're excited. They want more. They want to know more. They want to figure things out. They want to hear more. And now they're listening to him very closely. Tanjiro says that he needs more power. He needs more strength. And everything comes at a risk. And he's willing to take those risks. And of course, he begins training. And even multiple Hashira start training him as much as they possibly can. Because they're thinking, this kid, if he's serious, we need to make sure that, essentially we have him fully prepared. So they get a ton of training, even with someone like Rengoku before he goes off on his mission. And eventually Tanjiro would meet up with Rengoku again, basically to speak about sun breathing and stuff like that, to learn more. But while Tanjiro is here, it's perfect because this gives him an opportunity to basically fight against another demon. And a demon that is a part of the 12 Kizuki. So this would lead them to essentially fighting Enmu, but Tanjiro would be legitimately not affected by the sleep that Enmu basically is able to cause, defeating Enmu essentially on his own and gaining even more power from it specifically. And eventually, the one person that he's been waiting for, not in the way of he knew he would show up, but waiting for in the way of understanding that this power or this person would skyrocket his power beyond belief. And this fight would be with the upper 3 moon, Akaza. And this fight would be one hell of a one in that. Because yes, Muzan would send Akaza to basically get rid of Tanjiro, just with an uneasy feeling about what he is becoming or what he can truly be. And eventually, well, Akaza would find out exactly why Muzan is feeling this way. Because he would be sent after Tanjiro, sent after him to basically get rid of him, slay him, and basically get him off the table. And when they would begin fighting, when Tanjiro and Rengoku would team up, Tanjiro would watch as slowly but surely Akaza's power would deplete over the course of the entire night. The power that Akaza normally has would be so substantial that these two shouldn't necessarily stand a chance, not at this moment. But as Tanjiro progresses in power, even things on his own body would begin to change. Tanjiro's, Demon Slayer mark would reveal itself, and Akaza would quickly learn or figure out that his life force is being sapped more and more, and the more anger and the more feeling of emotion that Tanjiro is still feeling, it's overwhelming to the point that Akaza can sense his strikes, but it's kind of clouded in the emotion that Tanjiro is feeling. Every single strike, every single emotion, it is all clouding the strikes that are coming his way. And frankly, Akaza, he can't see straight. He can't understand it. He can't fully see and understand everything that is basically getting swung his way. And eventually, Tanjiro would land a strike straight to the neck of Akaza, slicing it clean off, as the feeling that Akaza is feeling is something he's never, ever felt before. This feeling of a strike slicing his head clean off is nothing like a normal demon slayer striking his skin normally. This is something different. This is something wildly different. This person, Tanjiro Kamado, is far from your typical demon slayer, and frankly, feels more like a demon than he does a demon slayer. But Tanjiro makes it very clear, not only is he human, but he is truly a demon slayer, just one step up, more like a demonic hunter. And this would be the inevitable defeat of Akaza. And frankly, Akaza is in disbelief about what happened, but all he can do now is allow himself to push on towards the afterlife and see his loved ones, or at least loved one, once again, as he would go down and be sent straight to hell, but he would go off to the afterlife in hopes that he can live, or he can be with the love of his life for the rest of eternity. And Tanjiro, all the power that he sapped and all the absorption of Akaza himself, his emotions, they're different now. They're way different. They're motivated. The feeling of anger and fear are basically thrown to the wayside, and he has this unrelenting desire to fight, unrelenting desire to get stronger, more powerful, and be the strongest. There's something within that he absorbed from Akaza's life force that is taking aspects of Akaza's human side, but also the side of when he was a demon. But that also gives him this feeling of being a protector, wanting to protect and wanting to keep others safe as much as he possibly can. And he makes it clear to himself that that's exactly what he's going to do. And with the powers of essentially Akaza, Tanjiro starts showing in training and in preparation that there's so much different about him. There's so much power that is basically underneath it all, but there also is potential beyond belief to truly reverse the effects of being a demon. And that right there is what scares Muzan, or is going to scare Muzan when he sees it, because eventually Tanjiro will begin on his own missions, becoming the demonic hunter Hashira. And as he goes on these missions on his own, as he helps out with taking down Daki and Gyutaro, and eventually when he faces off with Hantengu, Tanjiro's strength and abilities would be beyond comprehension, and Hantengu would be his first test, his first guinea pig on being able to, if he can, actually change somebody and basically make them human once again. And essentially, when he has that effect on Hantengu, the small version of him, the original version of him, he changes Hantengu, changes him entirely, eventually leading him to becoming human once again. And when this happens, well, Hantengu would just crumble into nothingness because of the age that he would have been at this point. And he would, well, pass on and be gone forever. And this idea of Tanjiro being able to do this to a high-ranking demon gives them the idea of him to start working with Shinobu and also later Tamiya to find some sort of way to basically create a very potent poison/cure to get rid of basically Muzan and any other demon that needs to be affected by it. And Tanjiro essentially would be that kind of person and be that perfect lab experiment in a way to try and get that kind of cure/poison to the next level. But the thing is, with all that and everything that is, hypothetical with, him helping out in that regard, eventually the fights of the Infinity Castle would ensue, but Tanjiro would have one mission and one mission only, and that is to face off with Muzan Kibutsuji while the others basically pile through the entirety of the Infinity Castle. Tanjiro would enhance himself, would embrace his demonic breathing, even sprouting these demonic like wings, flying and clashing with Muzan over and over again, with the ability of sun breathing as well. They would go back and forth, but slowly Tanjiro is basically chipping away at Muzan more and more and more. And as he's doing this, he's affecting the biology of Muzan, affecting him in a way that Muzan never really knew that he would be affected by. And before you know it, Muzan is not only sensing his demons falling one after another, but he'd be feeling something he's never felt. He'd be feeling a sense of fear. The emotions that Tanjiro feels, all the things that he's feeling, and essentially like making them feel like, all the emotions that he feels will be placed upon Muzan, and Muzan would be feeling like every single person, every human that he's ever hurt, made feel fear, or even tortured would be coming back to bite him, and Tanjiro would be making Muzan feel like his entire body is being ripped into shreds, as he's no longer the Demon King and a normal person being affected by the process of aging. And by the time the sun would rise, Muzan would be ashes and dust on the ground, and the final demon himself would be destroyed. But at the end of the day, Tanjiro Kamado entering this world and losing what he lost essentially guaranteed the loss of Muzan and the protection of generations of the future. But that is the end of What If Tanjiro Had Demonic Breathing. If you enjoyed, show some love, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.